Bye. My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back to another episode of Duck Dogs, everybody. I am your host, Josh Miller. Before we get going, as always, let's be sure to thank our wonderful sponsors that make this show possible. Thank you to Eukanuba Premium Performance, Sport 3020, 2616, and Puppy Pro are the formulas of food that we are feeding here at the kennel and feeding my personal dogs. And I would highly suggest, if you're looking for a premium, high-quality food to put your four-legged hunting partner on, go check out that Eukanuba line. We talked a couple episodes back specifically of why each formula. If you haven't heard that, go check it out because it's good details there. So thank you to Eukanuba as the presenting partner. Thank you to Sitka. Sitka gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing, both your everyday wear and your in the field work. We're going into turkey season here, so kind of switching to a little different pattern, but it will still be Sitka. www.sitkagear.com. Thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large size. So no matter how big or small your four-legged hunting partner is, you can be sure they're traveling as safe as they possibly can be. www.luckyduck.com. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for that four-legged companion. So be sure to go check them out. They're fantastic people, fantastic customer service, fantastic products. www.gundogsupply.com. Thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent Cartridge is the shotgun shell of choice that we have used here the last few seasons. We absolutely love specifically the bismuth loads for our waterfowl hunting. But now as we transition to training season, it is time to get the poppers out and start using the poppers. So Kent Cartridge, if you're looking for poppers for training season, go check out Kent. Thank you. Last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium online option for training your dog at home with step-by-step videos. We're going to dig into a little bit some of kind of the new things that we have recently announced with Retriever Roadmap and kind of give you some insight there because there's some cool stuff. But www.retrieverroadmap.com. Well, I hope everyone is off to a fantastic week here as you kind of head into Easter weekend. And obviously, so many great things there that come with that. It'll be a little different Easter weekend for us as we have puppies that are expected to be born on Easter Sunday. So it might be a little different. Might be doing church from at home in the puppy nursery. Great thing about technology, we can still make it, but might be a little different. But we're still looking forward to celebrating our Easter weekend here as our little family. But hope you guys have a jump start to your holiday weekend. A couple of things I want to go over here. So first off, I want to hit last episode. I kind of dug in a little bit, and I called it a rant, and I think it was. But I ranted a little bit about these Facebook groups and why they irritate me so incredibly much. And a lot of people, it was surprising actually how many people reached out and said something like, I needed to hear that, or I completely agree, or I got off Facebook altogether because of it. There are a lot of different notes, but I think a lot of you see it, right? I mean, that was kind of the aha moment to me was that so many of you guys do see it. And because you see it, it instills a little faith in me that, it's not just me, I guess, that's seeing it. But there were a lot of people that reached out and said, "Gosh, I never thought of this." Gosh, so I do think it was a valuable topic, to go into. There was one person in particular that I'd like to talk a little bit about, and I'm not going to use a name because I didn't ask him if I could, but it was really interesting. I think there's an interesting topic to come of this. But this is a younger guy that I don't really know personally, just a few messages back and forth, just kind of giving some advice as he has started his own training kennel. And he had sent me a message that said, "Hey Josh, love the last podcast. Really think that a lot of people need to hear that, and I think I in particularly needed to hear it myself. My question to you would be, how do you handle if you get haters off of social media? I seem to pick that up every once in a while, as I'm sure all of us do, but it seems like when I put an opinion or try to help someone, there's always someone out there that is going to throw shade." And this is one of the reasons that I dislike these Facebook groups so much, is because the reality. Here's the reality, you guys. The reality of training dogs is that none of us have a PhD in doing this, right? None of us went to a 4-year school to do this, right? So a lot of this is going to be opinion based, whether it's from who you learn from, or what you have learned through the School of Hard Knocks, or just simply experience. It's going to be what you've learned. So the hater thing is interesting. And the reason I pick on that is because I see it too, right? I mean, there's been people that have been the same way towards me, but I see it a lot towards specific individuals. Here's what I can tell you. And here's what I told this individual. I'm hesitate to call him a kid because I don't know how old he is, but he's certainly younger than I am. I was told something by a coach one time that has stuck with me in regards to this topic right here. And this in particular coach was, I think, a real. He was really influential in my mental preparation, and really dug into that side of things. But the way he approached things, I kind of looked at him as Yoda. Like, everything was non-emotional, everything was slow down, everything was think about this, right? Like, he was a very good presence, not only for me but for the team. And he told me at one point that no one ever had a hater that was worse than than they were. Okay, so no one ever had a hater that was worse than them. For example, right? Like, I have a hard time thinking Derek Jeter, was a hater on shortstops on other teams because he was better than them, right? Like, why would he care about it? Why would he worry about it? Why would he run his mouth about it? Now, there might be some outside stuff, but you know what I mean. Like, there might be a personal thing, someone slid in with cleats up, so all of a sudden there's some personal beef. Okay, that's different. This is talking about just kind of the haters going out of their way, right? And this is really what I see, with this in this community. And this is what irritates me so much about the dog community. We should be looking to lift each other up. We should be looking to, when you find good people that are doing what you're doing and doing things the right way, you shouldn't look at them as competition. You should look at them as strengthening your industry, because all it takes is one person to do something the wrong way, and it's going to put a bad taste in the public's mouth about what we do. So we should want there to be more good people out there. Should want people to be out there on a platform saying the right things, being a good face for the community. We should want that. But especially in the dog community, like, you're going to see that. There's going to be a lot of haters towards people, but there's never been someone that is a hater that is better than the person they're hating on. I loved that. I think about that often. Really did through sports because, there's an easy, connection there. But I still think about that today. And anytime someone brings up that topic, that thought kind of sneaks into my mind. But all right. So moving on here. I'm going to dig into something that he started, I believe, as a listener of this show, then was a member of Retriever Roadmap. He works for a decoy company in the industry. And I don't think, Ben, I'm going to say your name. I don't think, hopefully you don't care that I said your name. But he's turned into a really good friend, just networking through this. One of the many special things that comes from this community. But he sent me a message after, I can't remember if it was the last episode or the episode before, that said, man, I would really like you to dig in to some of the dichotomies that you've mentioned now a few times on Duck Dogs as it relates to your retriever training. And so I'm going to do that a little bit. And I have some written down that kind of are front of mind, and that's going to be kind of my meat and potatoes of this episode here. But I also want to dig in to some of the new things that we have going on, the strike teams. I'm going to announce that. And then I'm going to have, there's one topic I kind of want to dig on here a little bit. I've talked to a number of people on the phone recently that it seems to me like they're calling, wanting advice, wanting guidance, but they don't really want it. Okay, so what I mean by that is, in this, as in life, as in business, as in your career, as in athletics, as in everything, you are going to have people that find the reason why they can't do something versus figure out how they can get it done. You're going to have that everywhere, right? But this is something I seem to be running into more and more. I think people, they get these dogs, they have every intention in the world, and I do believe ego plays a big part of this, because nobody that has the dog wants to be the guy that's in front of their buddies in the fall, that their dog's out of control, that their dog isn't taking a cast, their dog isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Nobody wants to be that guy. But I think ego gets in the way here of the why I can't. Okay, so I made a little bit of a joke about it, I think a week or two ago, which there was a guy that had called in and said, how do you do water work when you don't have water? And it's like, well, you don't. I don't have a magic wand, to make that possible. So when you don't have water, you don't do water work. Just the reality of it, right? And so that was kind of the tip of the iceberg. And maybe it's one of those things, there's actually, I wish I could remember the name of this, but there's actually a psychological term that is for when something is in front of your mind, you see it more regular or clearer. This term is often used when you get a new vehicle, right? Whether it's the color, whether it's the make, the model, whatever it is, and you've never seen it. Well, now all of a sudden you're seeing it. You see it everywhere, right? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there were so many of these on the roads. It's because it's important to you now. And because it's important to you, it goes into, I wish I had this term. Anyway, I think this is what's happening to me, is that I'm hearing this more and more, so it's becoming more prevalent, to me, as far as like it's irritating me, and I want to figure out how to help people with this. And because of that, it's come to the front of my mind, which means I'm understanding that I'm hearing this more than I probably did before. Okay, so where I'm going with this is don't be the guy or gal that has the excuse for everything. Okay, so I have some excuses here that I have written down that I know for a fact in the last 10 days I have heard from people. Okay. I don't have the property to do that drill on. I don't have the water access. I don't have the right equipment. I don't have a property, which is kind of the same before. I don't have a property to train on. I only have my backyard. These are excuses, right? You don't only have your backyard. That's just what you think you have. The majority of properties that I train on has been going knocking on farmer doors or property owner doors and getting permission. No different than scouting and getting permission on property. Yes, it takes time. Yes, you're going to get told no, but that's how I've gotten some of the best trained properties that I have. You can do this. Okay. Another kind of different flair, different look at this is there was a guy, this was probably a couple months ago now, that I can't even remember exactly what we were talking about as far as his dog wasn't doing something. Okay. And he's like, well, I can't get the dog to do this. I'm looking for advice on how to get him to do it. I'm like, okay, well, here's what I would first do. And I hardly had the first sentence out of my mouth. And he's like, I've already done that. I'm like, okay, well, what was I going to say? He's like, you were going to tell me to do this. I was like, well, I wasn't. Okay. So here's what I would do. Maybe this time I got 2 sentences. I've already done that. And this guy was just looking like he was trying to say, I've done everything. I've already done everything. He was wanting validation that there's nothing else he can do. He wasn't wanting to win. He was wanting a reason of why to cop out and why to accept that it's not going to happen, right? So again, like this is a big theme of mine this year. I've preached this to my team, whether that's Retriever Roadmap or Riverstone, the kennel, is do not settle, right? Find how to make it happen. Don't tell me why you can't make it happen. Find a way to. Be a how-to person. Not a why not, be a how-to. It's going to get you way farther in life, in business, I mean, across the board. Be a how-to person. How do you do it? How do we get there? Apparently, I'm on rants recently. I don't know why, but okay. So strike teams. So this is something I'm really excited about. So kind of part of this, not really, but kind of. So through Retriever Roadmap, we just announced the new strike teams. So what is a strike team? So the strike teams are, they stand for, I love acronyms. I don't know why, I just do. But strike teams stand for Share Training Retrievers in Keen Excellence. Okay, so that's what strike stands for. And so what these are, they're training groups that we have now, strike team leaders that are in different areas of the country that are offering up their time, their property, their equipment, and they are going to schedule training days that Retriever Roadmap members can come out and everyone can train together. And where this really came from was, it was one in particular. There was one in particular, Austin. I think Austin listens to this podcast. That member that she came to me and she's like, look, like we should do something like this. And again, I didn't realize how often I was hearing it until she kind of slapped me in the face with it. But this was a common issue. So we were hearing two things over and over and over again for the last year plus, which is what holds you back from your goals? And the answer was one of two things. One, I don't have people to train with, or two, I don't have the property to train on. Now, as I just told you, there are solutions to that, right? But I was going to take it upon myself of how do I make this easier? Now, I know some of you guys are out there going, well, why don't you just tell them to go to the Retriever Club? And I did. That was for the last year. I told them, hey, find your local Retriever Club, hook up with them. And I have had great experiences with my local Retriever clubs and continue to. Great relationships, great friendships. I donate to them every year, try to do what I can to help, their test weekends in particular go on. And I've had great success, but I got consistent feedback from people that went and did this, that it wasn't for them. And mainly because there was one person or a couple people that made it uncomfortable, that was forcing them, hey, you have to burn to every back. Well, I don't want to do that. Okay? Well, that's the only way to get this done. It's not the only way to get it done. It's the only way that you've got it to get, got it done, which is fine. But if this person doesn't want to do this, remember, and this is where, again, think outside your own box. Everybody looks at their dog differently, right? So they didn't want to go back. Okay, so then they come back to me looking for what's my next option. I don't have a next option, right? So that's where the strike teams came from. And so there's no additional cost to this. Your Retriever Roadmap membership, which is $29 a month, that gets you access to these groups, to these teams. And I plan to do a lot of really fun, cool things through these teams. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of plans I kind of have for it, which I'm not going to talk about here right now. But I just think this offers, one, a really fun community base, but then two, just the opportunity to, for me, to me, this is the value alone, right? If I could go to somewhere else and get on a different property with different people, see different trainers, different dogs, different setups, different everything, right? That right there is extremely valuable. And so I just think there's a lot that we can do off of this. So I'm super, super excited about the strike teams and what we have going on. So if it's something you're interested in, if you are a Retriever Roadmap member, you can go into the private Facebook group or the private member chat on the website. You can get more information. You can email myself or email Brett to get more information. But if you go on our website, you can actually find the strike teams tab, and you can go find whoever the closest strike team leader is to you, and you can contact them directly and get in touch with them as far as when their training days are, what their setups are going to be like, things like that. So I would highly encourage you guys to do that. But all right, so let's dig into this. And so I just, as I've talked about this in the past, I've always called it the dogchotomies of training. And I just love that term. It's something I completely made up. So it's not dogchotomies, it's dichotomies, right? So we're talking about dichotomies of training, but I just like the little cuteness of the flair I throw in there with the dogchotomies. But let's go over a couple that I have here. And so as we look into this, remember, put yourself, now this is going to be, put your training hat on. Okay, so when this revolves around your dog and your training, okay, here are a few of them that I just have written down. I'll kind of dig into each one of them a little bit. Train hard, but train smart. That is a dichotomy. Sometimes people think training hard is pushing the dog too far, pushing the dog beyond the limit of what they should be pushed, whether that's because their age, whether that's the environment. Environment certainly could be weather related, such as heat. This is the big one. I cannot tell you how many tests I have pulled dogs from because it is too hot. I'm sorry, but your 10-cent ribbon is not worth my dog going into heat stroke. Not worth it. So train hard, but train smart. Okay? Firm, but not heavy-handed. This is one I feel like people really do struggle with. You need to be firm. But if you go back to, if you've listened to my stoplight episode, if you've not listened to my stoplight episode, I can't tell you which number it is because I don't remember. Go listen to the stoplight episode. If you need a reality check or you just need a gut check on, hey, where's my mental game at? Am I mentally, personally, am I mentally prepared to go into this training season? Go listen to the Spotlight episode because that episode right there is going to dig into just a really good mental picture of what your mental game should look like. A really easy interpretation of, hey, this is how I should proceed. Now, so pause this right now, go listen to that if you haven't, and then come back and we'll go forward. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, so everybody else, I'm going to assume that you've already listened to that episode, so what I'm going to say right now doesn't seem like Spanish. But you need to know how you react to things. Do you go from green to red really quick? Because right there, it's even more important for you to understand the difference between being firm and heavy-handed. Naturally, most of us, and I'm going to say most men, but I'm going to say you girls get wrapped into this, maybe not just as easy, but you girls get wrapped into this too. Especially girl trainers. Maybe not so much like if you're, I'm trying to think of like if you've got one or two personal dogs, I think you girls handle this way better than us guys. But girl trainers get wrapped up in this for sure. And I'd say majority of guy trainers do. But the reality is that when you are working with dogs, okay, so for me, I show up to work every day. Every one of my quote-unquote employees, four-legged employees, are eager to go to work. They want to go with me. They will do everything I say. When I say it, I feel like King Kong. I am the emperor. I am the king. I'm not going to say I'm God because I'm certainly not, but I am a very important person. The struggle is when people can't figure out when to turn that off, right? You get wrapped up into it. You feel like a big shot. You maybe even have a little like swagger walking around the dog trailer, like, oh yeah, like, look at me, right? Nobody else is around. Nobody cares, right? But you think it. And then all of a sudden you go to the party at the local pub and you walk into the place with that same thing and everyone's looking at you going, well, what a jerk, right? You know who I'm talking about. Everyone has someone in their mind that I'm painting the picture of a certain person. So this is something. And so the issue here is you need to be firm. You can't, like, everything can't be treat training. Everything can't be positive, what's the term I'm looking for? I'm trying to complete mind blank here. Everything can't be positive. Everything can't be like, ooh, hey, good, right? Because the reality is when your dog is going full tilt at 300 yards and all of a sudden gets pulled off and is going towards a road, that is not a please moment. Please stop. Please listen to this whistle. Please be under control. Please stop chasing that bird that got up and is flying. Please. No, you need to do this. It is for your own good. It is for your safety. If you don't, we could be in trouble. You need to be firm. Your dog is going to take your leadership better if you're firm. They want to follow a good, strong leader. But you cannot let firm turn into heavy-handed. There's a fine line there, and for some of us, finer than others. This is where you just got to know yourself. Be a leader, but also a follower. And I know this sounds really weird when you talk about dog training or dog ownership for that matter, because everything we ever always talk about is leader. Be a leader. Be a strong leader. Be a good leader. Be a pack leader, right? But when I say be a follower too, it means you need to do your job. You need to read the dog. Take the dog's direction. One of the things I've loved about just training with people that are probably, quite frankly, much more intelligent than I am, but have many more years of experience. One of the things that that Delmer Smith, a long time ago, told me, or maybe he didn't even really tell me, he just said it in my presence. So, but he just said, he's like, a dog will never lie to you. Think about how impactful that is. If everyone in your life, every single person you have in your life has, and will again lie to you. Not your dog. Your dog is going to tell you everything that they are thinking, everything that they are feeling. They're going to tell you what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, how it's going to be done. They're telling you. They're not lying. So as a follower, you need to follow their lead on some of this stuff, right? The reason that I say this is that if you are just a leader, I think that draws into the ego, that draws into being, maybe on the heavy end of the firm side. That leads to you training harder, not smarter. This leads to you maybe going over the edge on the heavy-handed side. This leads to you going, you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. How many of us would make the comment? I would. How many of us would make the comment that the dog has taught me more than I've taught the dog? I'd be willing to bet the majority of us listening to this episode right now would agree with that, especially that first dog. Especially that first dog. They taught us more than we taught them. You don't get that. You don't receive that unless you're a follower. So you need to be a follower as well as a leader. The best leaders are also good followers. I love this one because I think this is one that we get wrapped into. A lot of us, I think, get wrapped into. Plan, but don't overplan. I think there are way too many of us that overthink training situation, overthink a setup, overthink what could happen, what is going to happen, how this should look like, how this shouldn't look like, and we want this picture to be painted so cleanly and inside the lines and so perfect. The reality is you're training. You're going to have failures. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have bumps in the road. You're going to have issues to overcome. It is not going to look perfect. And the more you plan, the more you overthink, the more this is going to eat at you. You are working with a living being that has a mind, an energy, a feel of their own. You can't control that. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner it is going to be easier to smile when things go wrong. So plan. It is important to plan. If you don't plan, my fear of what I think a lot of times people that don't make progress, I find that they go out and their training is going out and, I've got 10 minutes after work. I go with the dog. I have him sit down. I throw a couple marks for him, and we go back inside. Well, if you do that every day, and that is what your training consists of, it's great that you're spending time with the dog, but you also can't be expecting to make any progress, right? Like you need to plan. Where are you? Where do you want to be? Now, what does the route look like for you to get there? And follow this plan. But don't overplan it. There are going to be things along that way that may make you, change your trajectory, take a detour, have to go backwards, maybe stop, right? There might be something significant in your life that happens that just makes you stop. The more you overplan it, the more you overthink it. The last one I'm going to dig into is what I have here is disciplined but detached. And I got this one from the dichotomy of leadership. Gosh, I don't know why that was so difficult to say. The dichotomy of leadership. You guys have heard me talk about extreme ownership. Well, the dichotomy of leadership is the next book in that series. But there's a chapter in there. I actually have the book on my desk right now, and I'm flipping through the pages here. But there is a chapter that they have titled Focused but Detached. And I think you could put that here. But I think discipline works for us, what we're doing. And the reason being is that we can be focused on what it is that we're doing as far as the training season goes. But the reality is that training season is a long way from hunting season. We're sitting here at the beginning of April. And for us in the north, we have April, May, June, July, August, September before we get to hunt. And then for those of my buddies that are down south, add another 2 months onto that. So you're 6 to 8 months away from getting to actually go apply this. When that happens, this is where discipline comes into play. I promise you there's going to be weeks, maybe even a month or two, that you just don't want to do this, right? You want to go out and have drinks with your buddies, and you want to go sit on the pontoon. You want to go fish. You want to go do that's all great. But being disciplined of staying on task, that's where the big picture, the big game, the longevity side of it, it is difficult to do that. It really is. Discipline is where it comes in. Discipline beats motivation every day of the week. But you also have to be detached. And I have an example of this. And I've seen this happen now with numerous of my friends. One of them I just spoke to yesterday. I love catching up with my old buddies. But this is a great friend of mine. I was in his wedding. He's a fantastic person. I love him to death. And he's now a professional trainer and does a great job and runs a ton of tests, runs the Grand, runs Master National, runs some field trials, and he is just eating up with it, which is fantastic. This is also a guy that lived in South Dakota, that hunted as much as he could, that was out all the time. And now, from what I understand from our conversation yesterday, I don't think he's hunted now in numerous years, not hunted once. And this happens, I'd say, a fair amount with professional trainers because, like for me, okay, why do I not run the Grand? Well, the spring Grand here is in a few weeks, and I am sitting here looking outside my window at 2 feet of snow. I am looking at what I've been told is still 1.5 feet of ice that is on the lakes. It'll be a month before we can even get dogs in the water. My dogs aren't prepared. They're not prepared for that. I can't train for that, and I'm not going to go down south to get in that weather for the reasons that Whitney and I talked about here a few episodes ago. Okay? Why do I not run the Fall Grand? Because the Fall Grand is in hunting season. That's why I do this. So what happens is that people get caught into playing the game, right? There's a number of my buddies that are field trial guys that their dogs don't hunt. They won't hunt. They might hunt when they retire, but they're not going to hunt because they're not going to screw them up for the game. Okay? This is where my example of disciplined but detached. Okay? It's great that you guys are disciplined on your goal. It's great that my goal is different and I'm disciplined on that. But at the same time, we need to be detached. Okay? So like for me, so hunting season is my priority. But I also understand the value of the titles and achieving those titles, which is why I do it. That's why I run tests. That's why I support my local clubs. And that's why I make sure that my dogs are titled, that they have that hunter retriever champion, that they have whatever title. Yeah, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but they have to have those titles that I'm saying that they're capable of. That's my detachment. What I would say is I wish that some of my buddies were detached the other way, is understanding that when you are so focused on playing the game that you lose sight of why the majority of us are doing this, right? So when you breed this dog that has never hunted, that has played the game his entire life, that has done all this, and you're going to sell those puppies as hunting dogs, that dog has never hunted. He's played the game. It's a difference. There's a major difference. Detach, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but detach, look at the big picture and go, this is different. I need to understand the difference, respect the difference. So be disciplined, but be detached. What detaching also does is it allows you to see the big picture, allows you to not have a blurred vision, have clear vision, see what's going on. This is my biggest, probably my biggest recommendation to business owners that come to me that they're like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I want some advice, or how did you build your business this way? You need to detach. It's great that you're working 60 to 80 hours a week. Okay. That does not impress me. Every business owner does that. What bothers me is that you're fixated on that you should be and you need to be working. You need to detach. My absolute best ideas, best aha moments, and best moments of clarity have come from when I was on the boat fishing, or when I'm just trying to think, when I was in a tree stand, when I was doing something other than what I was completely laser focused on. When I was focused on, you get tunnel vision, right? You get so focused on what it is you're trying to achieve and how to achieve it, you get lost in it. And you can't drive the ship when you're working on the engine. You can't do it. You need to detach. You can still be disciplined, but you need to be able to detach. It's really important. So those are some of my dogchotomies. I have more I'm going to save, but those are some of my dogchotomies I kind of wanted to dig into here today. But I'm going to roll into my afternoon. I have a lot of stuff I'm trying to get done here today. This kind of interesting thing here around the farm is that this is our last day of frozen weather before things get nice, which I'm super, super excited about. It's going to be in the 50s next week. We're like jumping for joy. It's going to be t-shirt weather. Shoot, I might even go shirtless. I don't know. But it's also one of those things you're going, oh, shoot, this is going to get really sloppy. We've gotten tons of snow. It's going to be wet. It's going to be miserable. What do we need to get done today? What tractor work do we need to get done today? Is there anything we need to get moved or done? Because after today, you're going to make a mess with whatever you're doing, right? So we have a bunch of stuff we're kind of scrambling on right now, but I wanted to get this episode in here before we head into the holiday weekend, because I know that I will be tied up with puppies and family stuff and all the other great stuff that's going to come here this weekend. So I hope you guys have a fantastic Good Friday, Easter weekend. Such a special time of year for all of us. So thank you guys for spending the time with me, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic weekend, and go crush next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Yukonuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.